Oops.
Oh,
Our titles are flying around again because it's Friday, it's 3 o'clock, and it's time for something for the weekend. Brought to you, as always, by Together 2012. We're an arts company led by disabled artists and based in the main London 2012 Paralympic host borough of Newham. And oh, yes, we had the Olympics as well. So, welcome to our show. We're going to tell you lots more about our Join In From Home programme, and we've got poetry, music, performance, comedy, chat, and much, much more coming up. But first, some introductions and some audio description. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as the artist Ju90. I'm artistic director of Together 2012. We always dress up to go out to stay in on a Friday. This was first started in New Zealand in their first and probably only lockdown, where they dressed up for their formal Fridays. We're a bit looser than that. We dress up for anything real or imaginary, and then we stay home and do it here. So I am dressed up to go out to stay in to attend the Sterre Cardiff Online Poetry Festival, and I'm going to tell you lots more about that after 3:30 in our item the week ahead. So to go to the Sterre Cardiff Poetry Festival, I am wearing a grey. What did we decide this sort of hat was called, Julie?
Fedora.
No, we definitely didn't decide it was one of those. But I'm wearing
Something else.
it wasn't a pork pot. Trilby.
Thank you. Yes, that word just off the tip of my tongue, but unfortunately, I do have communication impairment. So I'm wearing a grey trilby. I have a self styled hennaed corona crop hidden underneath it. I've got pale olive skin, green eyes behind black plastic glasses. I've got black plastic wrist braces, silver coloured jewellery, and a yellow t shirt that says Future Icon. And then behind us, you can see a glimpse of our famous Together 2012 graffiti banner. That's got pictures all over it of different art forms we cover in the course of a year, from visual art, music, poetry, street art, circus art, no, I should have said carnival art, but yes, we have even touched on circuses, but in a more, shall we say, critical way. But we cover all sorts of things: drama, dance. Well, can you think of anything else, Julie?
Filmmaking.
I was going to say
Yeah,
filmmaking.
photography, filmmaking, etc., etc. And in underneath the banner, we have our teddy for this week's Clockwork Paralympics. This is something we've been doing once a week since last March and lockdown one. Missing our Paralympic sport, we have set up our own. So we'll have the Clockwork Paralympics around 3:30, and we'll be vying between London 2012 and Birmingham 2022 to see which of our teddy bears is going to wear a medal this week. And the teddy bears are taking part in the virtual bear hunt, before you think we're, well, a little bit teddy bear biased. So next to me, where she's been stuck pretty much for getting on for 13 months now, is our chair, the artist Julie Newman. Well, Julie, what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Today I'm dressed up as a cherry blossom. Hence the little cherry bonnet, and the little motif on my t-shirt. I have a cherry bonnet on. It's knitted and very, very pleasant, actually, very sweet. It comes from Scotland. I have hair sneaking out from underneath it, which is gold and silver. I'm wearing dark rimmed glasses. I have on today a white t-shirt with a Japanese style motif of a cat going into a red sun, with a wave going up the back of the cat. Sorry, I got distracted. And a cherry tree and a little cat at the bottom. The mountain also is in the wave. It comes into the wave. I think it's actually a really clever design. It's Mount Fujiyama, I think. Because I'm going to go not to Tokyo, to Japan. I'm going to the north of Japan to go and walk in the cherry blossoms. But I can say a little bit more about that later.
Thanks, Julie. And just to give a bit more audio description on the hat, it was indeed knitted by our friend Alison Walker, who's a textile artist based up in Scotland. And it's got different colours. It sort of varies. It goes from a very sort of pale pinky white on the crown to a deep sort of orangey pink around the base. I was wearing it. It was the first hat Alison had knitted for us that I saw first, but now Julie has taken that one over as well.
Temporarily.
Well, we say temporary. Last year was the year of the homemade hairstyle, and this is the year of the hat. So, without further ado, over to the other end of our long virtual wheeled sofa for some introductions and audio description from our hosts. And you can tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay and to do.
Okay, I'm Tracy Surgeoner, and I am in our studio in Sutton Coldfield, and we've got a red velvet drop back. I am dressed up to go out to stay in to the Easter the Easter
Drive-in bonanza.
bonanza. I was thinking bizarre. The Easter drive-in bonanza. I've also got my visor with me, which I'm going to put down in a minute, but that's also what I'd be wearing with a pink headband. So, description of me: I've got long blonde hair tucked into my coat at the moment. My hair's been pushed back with a hairband because, like everyone else's, it's desperate for a haircut. I've got pale skin, and I'm wearing I've got blue eyes. I don't wear glasses, and I am wearing a faux fur pink furry coat to keep me nice and warm, with a black t-shirt underneath and some black faux leggings. Over to
And
you,
a
Rob.
visor.
And my visor, which I'm not going to put on.
Yeah, I
Well-
like the idea of customizing the visors with pink headbands because you see all these tailor-made face coverings now, but yeah, I haven't really got there with the visors yet.
Mm.
And I
Yes.
understand that, like me, you've been really suffering from your allergies this week.
I am, yes. I was going to point out I haven't had Botox in case anyone remembers from last week, not part of my outfit. I'm suffering with an allergy, not found the cause of this yet, that's given me very sore, swollen lips.
Oh. Yes, and likewise, I have not been in tears. I just have had very swollen eyes. But like Julie says, the blossom is absolutely lovely at the moment. So,
Mm.
Robin, what do you look like? What are you dressed up to go out to stay and to do? Who are you?
So I am Robin Surgeoner, sometimes known as Angry Fish, and I am the business director at Together 2012, and an artist and a former Paralympian. Many hats, but I'm not wearing any of them right now. I am the
You're the
one
only
who's
one.
had.
haircut.
I am. I've had a haircut. I'm showing it off. Yeah, so I look vastly different from last week because you can now see my ears and my forehead. I braved the hairdresser or the barbers, the Turkish barber, and I was saying to Tracy, actually, they've done a really, really good job of making it safe, but actually really nice to go in. That they've, I'm not going to spend too long, but they've kind of put up these beautifully, kind of amazingly transparent perspex partitions, but with etched logos and things, and it's actually really, really good. So as a result of that, I have much shorter, silvery, white, black, grey hair. It came through all colours when it got cut. I've got blue eyes behind no rim, black armed glasses. Kind of shaven. And I'm wearing a brown round neck t-shirt with the kind of Jamaican flag in green, gold, and red. Says Exodus at the top, says Bob Marley at the bottom, and then Bob Marley in the gold in the middle. And I'll tell you more why I'm wearing this when we get to the week ahead.
Brilliant. So, talking about the week that's just gone by, on a Wednesday morning, we have the Together 2012 Pop Up Poetry Club, and that currently operates by phone. And therefore, if you're a disabled person anywhere in the UK and you fancy joining, just let us know. The way we run it is as a phone group. So, we phone you, add you to the call, and we pay all of the costs. The Pop Up Poetry Club has been going since 2014, but actually had its roots in the project that we ran in 2012. And then we were able to launch it in a small way in 2013 and then get funding from the People's Health Trust to continue. Now our funding comes from Arts Council England and the National Lottery Community Fund, for which many thanks as always. So the Pop-Up Poetry Club people get together to share poems they've written, but also poems that they've read elsewhere and enjoyed. We do voice exercises, occasionally breathing exercises, but mostly it's an opportunity to get round the table with a hot drink, if only virtually, and write and read poetry together and enjoy it. We have a theme every week. So if you want to join in from home but don't want to join in from the club, then listen out for the topics. And if you'd like to share the poems, then please do send them to us at info@together2012.org.uk. So this week's subject was trees. Would you indulge me by reading us your poem first, Julie?
Sure. Sorry, I'd lined up somebody else's first. Okie doke. This is called Hanami. It's a tribute to the cherry blossoms in 2021. Walk under the cloud and consider the single blossom. Pause to welcome spring. Today the warmth of others sharing the moment has not come. There is no food, no laughter. Companionship sits in the knowledge that this too will pass like the blossom. But beauty lies in the eyes of those who can see the clouds, sitting proudly on the tree. The lights still shine, the blossom sings in silent harmony. Soft colours shroud the harshness of what lies underneath, and for a brief minute of time, it's possible to glimpse heaven.
Oh, that was wonderful. So there's a real cherry blossom theme going on there. So let me find this one. This is Pizer Malik, and this is called Tree. And Pizer is a member of our associate drama company, Act Up Newham. If you're interested in joining Act Up Newham, then drop us a line and we'll be happy to pass that on. So Pizer Malik, Tree. Where there is space, sunlight and water, trees, bushes and shrubs grow forever. Smells fresh, looking green, that is where I always been. Sitting on the grass under my favourite tree, staring ahead as there is a lot to see. In the pool of clear cool and gentle ripples, caused by the falling leafy thistles, from the beautiful weeping willow planted around the pool drooping below, giving shades and comfortable place to sit and enjoy the wide space. In the park alone or with friends happily, under my favourite tree standing elegantly, admiring the rows of weeping willows, differently gentle, soothing, full of colours and shadows. Thank you, Pizer. And I believe we've got some to read from the West Midlands next.
We have. Shall I go next?
Yep.
Okay, so this is from Dwayne Bryan, again, one of our regular contributors. Again, this is simply called Trees. Trees are bare in the winter, in blossom, in the sun. Flowers are beautiful. You can give them to your mum. Fruit blossoms from apples to strawberries to berries. They can make you very merry. We need trees to give us oxygen. So they say trees need to blossom, and you should be okay. We need trees to produce fruit, which helps an appetite and makes us not hungry. It's true. I have fruits all around. We need trees around.
Nice.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Tracy, I think you've got one from.
I have.
I
Where's
have.
mine?
I'm just scrolling to it.
Right, yes. So this is by Dawn Barber and it's called Trees. A tree stands in front of me, blowing softly in the wind. The leaves are lovely and green. I walk up to it and give it a cuddle. You deserve that, I said. We must be kind to you for all the lovely things you show us. As we grow, all the things you show us as you grow. Trees are lovely to know.
Oh, thank you for that, Dawn, and for reading it so well, Tracy. I mean, people used to be described as tree huggers, didn't they, if they were particularly kind of keen on the environment. But actually, there's supposed to be something, very, very soothing about physically coming into contact with that tree trunk. Although I'm kind of one of those people that think, yeah, what about the insects?
Yeah.
You won't squash any, they'll be all right.
Okay, that's not quite what I was concerned about. But so you finally got one from Alison Marchant, and Alison is our club's program leader, and she's developed a style where she's using pieces of found text and putting them together to create a poem. And in this case, it's she's done an internet search. Is that right, Julie, for looking at different trees, or is it from a book?
No, I think it's I honestly don't know, actually. It could be from a book or it could be internet, but I've got a feeling it's from a book. This is Alison Marchant. European trees. Ash is a common tree, but ash dieback currently sweeps through the countryside, destroying it. Beech is monumental, majestic, and a home to rare wildlife. Silver birch has pretty, pale, silver-white bark. Blackthorn is early to blossom and later has berries. Bird cherry is a scented showstopper, sending out almond perfume. Dogwood is a broadleaf shrub that thrives in damp woodland edges. Elm grows to lofty heights and is common in hedgerows. Hawthorn is an explosion of pale pink blossom in May. Lime sends out a sweet-scented minty honey aroma. The majestic oak holds a special place in culture and history. Scots pine towers the glen. Black poplar is imposing, elegant and rare. The whitebeam's fruit is a favourite of garden birds. Goat willow is covered with white male catkins. White willow is sweeping and romantic, draped in water. Yew is ancient, morbid and toxic. It's the longest living native species in Europe.
Thanks for reading that, Julie, and thanks, Alison. Everybody has got their own unique style, and we've got some more contributions as well, including from Crystal Peasy and Blake Jarrett Gibbons. What I'm going to do is pop them up on our highlights and links page. You can find that on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. Go to the main Together 2012 TV page where you'll find the recording of this show and previous shows, and click on the link or use the pull down menu to go to highlights and links. That's going to have all of the images, videos and poems that we're showing you today, and direct links to all of the things we'll be recommending in the week ahead. But now let's move on and have a look at what the Art Club have been doing this week. The Art Club meets twice a week on Zoom for an hour. So that's on a Tuesday and a Friday between 11 and 12. And we open the virtual doors about 10:30 so that people are able to sort of get on in their own time. And if you need any support to do that, we can also provide that. We have Noel Guinan, who's our engagement support worker. So if you're interested in joining the Art Club or the Poetry Club, drop us a line, info@together2012.org.uk, and we'll put Noel in touch with you and progress that as soon as we can. But you can also join in from home just by looking at what we're doing, because the photos will also be up on the internet. So Friday morning is Still Life. And I'm going to pop this still life up onto the screen, and I think ask Robin to audio describe it.
Okay. What we've got here is it's making me think like a wedding still almost. It's a pair of musky, dusky, silvery mauve slippers with a bow on the front. And then in front of the pair of shoes is a corsage. I think that would be described as, which has got a very pale, dusky pink, 3 roses around the outside, and then a much darker, bigger rose in the middle, and that kind of all the matches, all the colors kind of flow together, other than the little bit of green at the bottom of the corsage, and then holding it all together is a kind of translucent ribbon with a pink edging.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Robin. So I'm just going to put up a couple of people's contributions from this morning. This is from Crystal Peasy, and Crystal has sketched this out in pencil and then painted over in pinks and purples. And this is Sophia, who's used a very similar technique, but with felt tips. So she sketched it out in pencil and then used red felt tip for the shoes and a sort of yellowy orange and green felt tip for the picture. What we used to do on a Friday morning in a physical venue is we would meet and have a painting and drawing session. So it was very, very open. We would have all sorts of paints, pastels, pens, anything you can think of that you can draw and paint with, and anything you can think that you can draw and paint on. And people would find their own voices. But obviously, that's much more difficult, well, impossible to do from home. So what we do now is we have the still life where we're also quite mindful in that session. It's very focused, it's very relaxing, it's quite meditative. Alison goes through a full audio description of the image if you have any difficulties in seeing it at the beginning. So I've just got one more because we're also encouraging people to do things of their own. So this is Lee Brooker, who's done his own floral still life. And Lee's holding up a canvas, and what he's done is a beautiful pencil. Well, I think he might have some pencil in it, but it's mostly painted. And it's so is it an orchid, Julie?
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's an a pink orchid in a white pot, and he's even put in the shadow or the saucer around the bottom. So thank you for that, Lee. Please do send us your own pictures in. We would love to see them. And then on Tuesday, as I said, we had the art club's make and natter session. And what we do with that is we encourage people to either bring their own projects along. It's a really sociable group where you're able to look at each other's work, swap tips, get bits of feedback and advice. And if you don't have a project that you're doing at home that you want to bring along, then Alison leads projects, which are based on really anything you can already have at home. So this is Sophia again, who's been stringing beads to make jewellery. So this is a photo of Sophia holding up the necklace that she's working on. And what she's doing is alternating black and pearl beads. So good luck with that one, Sophia. And then this is Duncan Blackstock, who's been working for the last few weeks on the most incredible kind of abstract collages. And what he's doing is he's creating them entirely from junk mail, old pill packets, bits of cardboard, bits of deliveries. So this particular one, I mean, it's very, very complex. And unfortunately, the screenshot we were able to do on Zoom is not great. But there's blacks and oranges, reds and yellows, and all sorts of different shapes. I think Duncan's going to have enough for a whole exhibition by the time we're actually able to do such a thing in real life.
I just think that last one's maybe the blurred image, but art is all about your own interpretation. And to me, that looked like a 70s funk LP cover.
Yeah, there's so much in there, isn't there? And then this is Lee Brooker again. And Lee's been knitting. And Lee was the only person in the Tuesday group, this was about 2 or 3 years ago, to start knitting when we started doing different projects with wool. So Lee's been knitting away on his own, and the interpreter that he works with, Hazel, has had a hand in this as well. So this is Lee's scarf as made by Lee and Hazel, and that's a bright red scarf with a fringe, and Lee's wearing it and holding up both thumbs to show how pleased he is with it. So I'm just going to take that off. And then finally, this is Crystal Peasy, and what Crystal's been doing is making pom-poms and then turning them into creatures using bits of felt and goggly eyes and pipe cleaners. So there's 4 of them sitting here, yellow, green, red, and then a multicolored purple and white one. And they just look like huge fun. So it's worth bearing in mind that there's all sorts of things you can do with pom-poms. And what we try and do really for everything in the Tuesday Make and Natter group is we're teaching techniques that are very inclusive, very simple, very accessible, but you can also use them in fine art, including, of course, the pom-poms. So now we've got something else that you can join in with from home, which Tracy has been setting up for us. So I'm going to bring the first picture up and then over to you, Tracy.
Well, this first picture, I'm sort of still sticking with the idea of trying to use things that we've got in the house. So this is like an upcycling of some old bottle tops, like Coke bottles and Lucozade bottles. And what I've done is I've got a Lucozade bottle in the middle, and then I think I've got 6 or 7 Coke bottle lids around the outside, giving the look of a flower. It's on an ironing board, sat on some greaseproof paper, and then that's actually my daughter Emily helping me out there with the iron, because you put the top and you put another layer of greaseproof paper on top, and simply iron the plastic, and I think it just melts. It only took a couple of minutes, if that, really, just to melt it down. And there we are. So halfway through, we took it off to have a look, and then turned it over so we could use the top of the bottles rather than the underneath, because it's a bigger surface area. So yeah, we continue to melt it. You leave it to dry, and then take off the greaseproof paper, and there we have our ready-made coaster. I was quite impressed with that. First time we tried that.
So this is it in action.
Yeah, works quite well. Works very well indeed.
Oh, Tracy, that's lovely. Really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's such a clever idea. I mean, as always, if like me and Tracy, you're not great with your hands on irons, then ask somebody else to do it, or just take your time and be very careful. But yeah, and I think one of the things to remember is they can't recycle bottle tops in most areas, certainly not Newham, where we have a very small list of things people can recycle. So it's great to save the bottle tops, and we've had previous projects that Tracy's done that you can see indeed on Tracy's new page on our website, Join In with Tracy. So the other thing that we have on our website that's new is a page called Join In with Sterre. And Sterre Ploeger has been creating films of inclusive, accessible activities for, I think, since last June. So on our website, on the Join In from Home program, look at the pull down menu. You have Join In with Tracy, Join In with Sterre. All of the activities they did on our past show Together Unlocked are in there. And now here is Join In with Sterre for this week.
Hi, I'm Sterre, and this is Merlo and the dog. And I and Merlo, we went for a walk. We saw sheep. Lots of sheep. I painted the sheep with no paint brush. Ah.
That is enchanting.
It is. Do you just want to do a little bit of audio description for that, Julie?
On my memory, yes, we started off with Sterre in the living room on the settee with Merlot, the black assistant's dog, sitting alongside her, and there was a stick which had been painted and is being used for adornments to the side. She then took us, without actually being there, into a field with lots and lots of sheep, and there was a lot of sheep noises, mother sheeps and baby sheeps barking at each other.
But the actual pictures, given that we could do that on the audio description, yeah. So the pictures were various stills that they'd taken on their walk of the sheep, wasn't it?
Yes, and what Sterre had done is, as she quite rightly said, she didn't use a brush, which I think is excellent. It's a really interesting way to explore and play with paint and see what you can do. She created some blobs of white and black paint on a background of green, sort of
Drizzled across
drizzled,
the paper.
yes,
I mean, she got
yes.
different greens and drizzled them across the paper and almost dripped the white and the black on.
But very effective.
Very, very effective. I mean, what you'll find with all of Sterre's films is these are very simple, very effective techniques that usually require only very, very basic materials. So now it is time for our weekly Clockwork Paralympics, and I'm pleased to announce that for the next few weeks we move to the pool. We had
Oh,
new competitors, different classes. Unfortunately, the plastic crocodile class and the plastic frog class are still really, I'd say, pretty remedial. They're not what I'd call proper clockwork toys. They all seem to run on this piece of elastic that you wind up. And then as soon as and they swim like crazy on dry land. You see, they've been doing the land work with you, Robin. Swim beautifully on land, but as soon as you put them in the water, their clockwork isn't actually strong enough to but never mind, because we have two crabs that were perfectly prepared to get into the pool and race for us. So there's not a huge amount of audio description needed for this. So it's basically, I've used a GoPro camera, for which thank you very much to Concordia University, who lent it to us some years ago when we were doing a partnership with them in Canada, and we didn't actually give it back. So the sports camera is clipped to the bath seat, and we're watching two plastic crabs swim their way up the bath.
Do we need a bear?
Oh, Julie wants us to introduce our teddy bears, the potential medal wearers.
Potential winner.
So our potential medal wearer is a blue teddy bear, homemade, with a white snout. Its name is Nigel. And it's quite a small bear. It's got a collar on that's an old cat collar. So it's a black collar with sort of little reflective eyes. Do you want to introduce your bear, Robin?
well, I'm afraid our bear had an injury. We have a very late substitution of Sally the shrimp, who believes that she's going to do well in an aquatic event today, but only time will tell.
So our teddy bear is taking part in the international virtual bear hunt, and just as always, to remind you of that, if you put teddy bears in your window, teddy bears on your live stream, that is great fun for children who are doing the international bear hunt. It just makes their daily exercise and everything else just that little bit more fun while so much is closed. I don't know quite how we put Sally the shrimp into the international bear hunt, but I'm not convinced our Paralympic swimming champion has ever quite 100% got the point. So, yeah, we won't even ask about the medal because we know your household has a vast collection. But I'm going to pop the video on and get you to do some commentary. And I think I did pre-record several races, but I think this is a bit of a sprint.
All right, so we'll go for the right-hand side of the screen as we're looking at it. So we are in Ju's bath, as it were. Yeah, we have a turtle, at least one, a blue turtle.
No,
And
they're definitely crabs, Robin.
oh, was it a crab? Sorry, you did say that.
I did. I'm going to
You
put
did.
the film on.
So this is going to be interesting. Oh yes, absolutely. Oh, and I have to say, yes, the Birmingham Commonwealth team off to an absolute flyer there. Superb swimming, but a very close race there. So congratulations to London for coming second this week. Now, so this week's medal, and typically the 1 week I haven't got a proper bear, is that the medal this week is actually an MBE, which is a member of the Bear Empire. So Sally the Shrimp will be then honorary MBE. There we go.
I can only apologise for anybody, child or adult, who's doing the virtual bear hunt. But it's great to see a real MBE. That's for sure. So without further ado, we will move on to our new slot the week ahead, where we recommend things that you can do from home, almost you always for free. I'm going to start off because this is what I'm dressed up to go out and to stay in to do, and that is to visit the annual Seren Cardiff Poetry Festival. The Cardiff Poetry Festival opened last night. It runs till Sunday. Usually everything would be in physical venues and almost everything would be paid for. But this year it's all online and you only pay for the workshops, which of course does help to fund those people's work. But there's some wonderful people coming up, including our local man, well, used to be local, Benjamin Zephaniah, and he's going to be sharing his Desert Island poems with Welsh poet Ryan Edwards. Keris Matthews is presenting her new music poetry crossover album, We Come From the Sun. And there's going to be readings from poetry stars, including Tishano Doshi, Joe Dunthorne, Pascal Petit, Patience Agbabi, who certainly used to be relatively local when I worked with her, just lives out in Essex, Katrina Naomi and Kim Moore. And there's also the annual Mike Stevens lecture on the history of Wales in 12 poems. So it sounds absolutely unmissable. You can have it on in the background, check into the things that you really want to see, but that is what I am dressed up to go out to stay in to do this weekend. Robin, what's your first recommendation?
Okay, my first recommendation, I'm just going to slide it over so I'm looking at it because it's complicated. It's so I am wearing a top because the kind of, although Bob Marley is Jamaican, kind of the Rastafarian roots are in Ethiopia, of course. And my first recommendation is a short film followed by, well, it's a film screening followed by a discussion of a film called Fix Your Crown. And it looks really, really interesting. And it's basically, it's 8 female Afro-Caribbean artists, performers from Bristol. But what they've done is they've taken kind of the handed down stories of real African queens and kind of reinterpreted them into kind of creating both a legacy of the African queens, but also an interpretation in terms of how those stories would be told in today's. I mean, I haven't seen it yet because it's literally it's premiered on Sunday evening at 6:30, followed by discussion. But it looks actually really, really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your first recommendation, Tracy?
My first recommendation for the weekend is what I was talking about earlier, which is why I'm wearing my fur coat, which is to go to the Easter bonanza, which is an outdoor drive-in. So it's a drive-in cinema. They've got a panto going at this, as well. They'll have food stalls, burgers and candy floss, all the sort of things you'd get if you went to an outdoor bazaar event. And that's actually running across the country all through April. So actually this weekend it's in Liverpool. It's not in Birmingham for another 2 weeks. But yeah, it just sounds really fun. They've got a silent disco. They've got bingo. It just sounds like a little bit of everything to suit everyone in the family.
Yeah, well, if you can get out safely, which some people can and some people can't, and it really depends on your living situation. We have to just crossing 3 feet of pavement with people coming in all directions with masks makes it really tricky, and it's always frustrating because there are things we could go to that would be really safe to do. But still, what are you going to watch from home this weekend, Julie?
I don't know really. I was going to have a look at our friend Tony Malone's website, because he's actually got a show starting tomorrow, an exhibition in Clevedon at the Curzon, where he's got a residency called Hanami. And given that it's linked into everything that I've read this week about cherry blossoms, I thought I would like to go to his website. He's got a book that it's a catalogue of the work produced with it as well, and give him a little bit of support.
Yes, Tony has been with us since 2012 and is also our logo designer. So I've just got a couple of quick ones before we go back over to the West Midlands. There's a retrospective celebrating the pioneers of arts and mental health in Scotland, and that's a new online exhibition by the Mental Health Foundation Scotland, which is thought to be the first of its kind in that country, and it's called Reclaiming Our Heritage. It's an oral history that's been curated over the last 2 years, and the collection is an archive of the personal stories of 40 innovators in arts and mental health, spanning 6 decades from the 1950s to the noughties. And that was funded by National Lottery Heritage Fund. So it was originally planned as a live event, but fortunately, because we couldn't have got to it from the south, it's now online, and that runs till the end of October. And then tomorrow, but I believe they remain online, the Durley Bain Theatre Company presents 10 short online comedy films to support emotional health for children ages 6 to 12. And although with lockdown easing and schools reopening, I think life has become a bit easier, that's brought all sorts of anxieties with it. So that's 10 short online comedy films to support emotional health for children ages 6 to 12. And that's just on their website, which will be up on the highlights and links page. What else have you got for us, Robin?
My second one is called Unfolding Shrines. It's a I have actually done this now. I've looked at it. It's golly, it is an augmented reality exhibition. It's part of well, it's actually, I think, all the shortlisted artists for the Adam Reynolds Award. Adam Reynolds was a
I was going to say, if you want to just grab a drink
Yeah.
or your throat. Yeah, so Adam Reynolds was a disabled sculptor. The Memorial Prize has come up in different forms. It's been residencies in different places, and yeah, they've experimented with it. It's administered, I think, by Shape Arts, who raised the money originally in Adam's memory. So are you able to speak again now, Robin?
Yeah, I hope so. And so there are four artists' works within the exhibition, and I think it's called Unfolding Shrines because it's kind of an examination of what walls can hold you in, or what walls you can create that you can then break through digitally. But you can access it on the laptop, or an ordinary desktop computer as a straight 3D set of images. I mean, ordinary flat screen image. But if you use an iPad or an iPhone, you can then walk inside the exhibition, which sounds really bizarre, and it's quite a strange thing to, because you have to hold the phone or your iPad and press a button and walk in, and then you look round, you turn your device, and that changes how you're viewing the room that you're in. So it's
So many ways that people are experimenting with virtual exhibitions. I mean, just to flag up our Making History Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival remains online on our website, and that includes, I think, 4 exhibitions, of which I think one's presented on a website, one is a complete website with all sorts of different formats, and 2 are these virtual galleries. They can be used on an ordinary computer where you're using a cursor and you're just moving forward and you're turning around and so on. So I haven't seen something that sort of takes it one step further. So that will be really interesting as well. Julie, did you have something else for us?
No, not really.
Okay, in that case.
I thought what I'd do is I really like the sound of that Scottish mental health exhibition. So I fancy sort of sneaking in with you to have a look at that.
And indeed, the poetry. Well, I know we've got time for just one more, and I know you'd come across, was it Braille Lego bricks?
Oh, that was more.
Oh, that was Julie.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
knew you talked about it.
I came across.
We should have a Monday show.
We
shouldn't
should. Oh, we should. It's all getting a little bit confusing. I found Lego has a charitable branch, and they have created Braille Lego bricks. They did it over a period of consultation internationally with organisations supporting blind and visually impaired children at school and in education, and they created these Lego bricks, which are available for free for schools or teachers through the RNIB. And the Lego also offer a training course for the teachers or instructors.
Brilliant. So that's just one more from the West Midlands then.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I confused myself earlier when you said what are you doing for the weekend. The event that I talked about, it is available to do, but as we've said right from the beginning, just because we can go out doesn't mean we should be going out. So I wasn't recommending people to go out to that activity. That was just my virtual activity that I was going to do. Well, that's why I've got my fur coat on. But what I was planning to do is I can do a virtual tour of the jewellery quarters in Birmingham, which I thought might be a really good thing to do. It's totally free. It can be done online at any time from anywhere, to tie in with the new reality programme that's starting on Saturday on BBC Two, the Britain's Next Jewellery Star. So
yes, and that I think
yeah.
we'll enjoy watching that. I mean, it was great seeing Sphere stringing the beads up, but some techniques and of course we have our own jewellery quarter in Newham in Green Street, which is where we would be based in more usual times, and not in Canning Town, where we're sort of locked down in our studio at the moment. So in a minute, I'm going to get Robin to introduce the final item. But just to say, we very much welcome your contributions. If you're making art at home, whether that's poetry, painting, craft and making, or anything else, we'd love to see your pictures and videos. If you're launching a project, let us know. We would love to interview you about it. And also to say that our colleagues over at Disability Arts Online, you know, we had one of their films on last week. They have new content on their website every single week. So if you'd like to know more about disability arts, we'll also be putting in a regular link under highlights and links to that page. But in the meantime, I think that's all we have from East London, and we'll hand over to Robin to introduce the final event.
Yeah, so to close today, we have an interview and then a song from a musician whose real name is Paul Lund, but I will leave it for the interview for him to introduce the act as they are. I would now like to introduce you to Paul Lund. Paul is a disability arts practitioner currently living in Leicester. I'm going to go straight to you, Paul. Tell us the name of your act and a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Robin. Thank you for asking me on. My name is it's Dalmatian Rex and the Eigentones, which is a bit of a, I suppose it's quite a long name. It was originally a joke, kind of, but I would just come on stage on my own. So I thought if I had like a really long name, it would be quite funnier than just one bloke turns up, and so it sounded like it's a big band, but and it's kind of stuck now, so we're quite happy. But Dalmatian Rex is usually what it gets shortened to.
And how long have you been a musician?
I've been a musician sort of most of my adult life, really. It's always been like a part of me. I've worked in sort of part of my job was developing software for music and designing mixing desks. So kind of always had a life around music, but I particularly like sort of composing and recording are my two sort of things that I really like the most.
What kind of influences have you got? You know, what makes you want to write?
I kind of is writing sort of something that I kind of do that I kind of need to do. It's like I feel writing songs is like, for me, is like that's the best bit about being a musician, is being able to come up with something and go, oh, that kind of works, and then sort of build upon it and get some sort of lyrics that sort of go sort of with it. So I really kind of enjoy that process. I'm not sure where it comes from. It's kind of is a bit of inspiration and a bit of sort of repetition, but it's kind of feels part of me doing that. So but I get my inspiration musically would be, I'd sort of prefer the more sort of punk rock type, maybe the more sort of challenging music like Captain Beefheart and more alternative type music is kind of where I'm sort of coming from.
You've said that you kind of do a lot of the writing yourself. What instruments do you play?
I kind of used to call myself a bass player, and then I've kind of wandered to playing a bit of guitar, and I've also sort of taught myself to play the piano, which I love. I like learning new instruments, because when you play a different instrument, you kind of it helps you write more songs, if you see what I mean. It's kind of like it gives you a new sort of lease of life for that. So I kind of on the track. The only thing I'm not very good at is drumming. I've got kind of problems with my legs, so and I'm not the most in rhythm of person. So I have a friend, Pete. Pete does all the drumming on the tracks.
In a minute, we're going to hear your new single. Before we go into that, by way of introduction, would you like to tell us the name of the track, a bit about it, and just a couple of seconds about the video that I understand you made yourself?
Yeah, we kind of made a video. I wanted to do some sort of overhead sort of camera shots. What do they call it? A drone. And I thought about buying a drone, but then I thought, well, I might as well pay somebody to do drone footage somewhere interesting. So a lot of the footage is filmed by a guy who lives in Iceland. But it's a song called Meteorite, and it's kind of I've written it's a double album I'm currently working on, which is about dinosaurs. This track is obviously at the end because it's about waiting for a meteorite to sort of come and finish the world off. So it's kind of a bit sad, but and it's a bit sort of reflective in that way, I think, really. So that's what the song's about.
Well, fantastic. So, Paul, thank you ever so much for coming on today. And here is the video, Meteorite.
satellite in the sky. I'd forgotten all the sleepless nights, waiting for your lullaby. Well, it's not the end of the world, just the ebbing of our tide. Smoking cigarettes in the acid rain, buried in a landslide, a landslide. Melts into the wilderness and sadly whispered goodbye. Don't forget you are the universe. I'll see you on the other side, the other side.